Well, today I want to teach you the first step to success by taking you back to your childhood and playing a game called Let's Pretend. Hey, I'm Terri Savelle Foy, your cheerleader of dreams. Let me ask you, are you ready for God to do a new thing in your life? Are you tired of repeating the same scenario year after year? Have you thought lately, how do I stay positive when it appears nothing is changing? Well, if you answered yes to any of those questions, I have one word for you that drastically changed my entire life: routine. The secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. If you'll change your routine, you can change your whole life. You know, one of the biggest changes I made to my daily routine was listening to inspirational messages that pointed my life in the right direction. So, I want to ask you to subscribe to this podcast by pushing the little red arrow so you start a routine of consistent inspiration and coaching to help you live your dreams. Now today, I'm going to share with you the first step to success. Everybody agrees on this. You know, recently I spoke at a conference where I passed out crayons to the entire audience. And the cool thing was I got to have one giant crayon. And I asked them, I said, pick up the crayon, close your eyes and smell it. Just hold it to your nose and smell it. I said, did you know that the sense of smell is the most powerful in memory recognition? Like one smell can take you back to a place, to a person, to a time. I mean, it's crazy. Well, then I asked them, I said, what does the smell of a brand new, fresh out of the box Crayola Crayon make you think of? Then I said, okay, open your eyes and let me just tell you what you're supposed to think of. Your childhood. Now, I heard about a professor who would do this on the first day of each semester with his college students. And his point was, go back to when you were a child. No cares, no worries, no bills, no goals you must achieve, just carefree. Well, today, I want to teach you the first step to success by taking you back to your childhood and playing a game called Let's Pretend. In fact, before I finish today, I want to give you the entire 7-step checklist for success so I don't leave you with just step 1. I'm going to show you how to access that free checklist in just a minute. But first, let me ask you, did you ever use that phrase when you were little? Let's pretend. You know, like, let's pretend we're superheroes, or let's pretend we're in a jungle. Let's pretend we're Charlie's Angels or Avatars or Miss America. You know, that's a phrase that we used all the time when we were little. Let's pretend. In fact, my little neighbor friend down the street, her dad had a boat in the garage, and I would always pretend I was Ginger on Gilligan's Island. So I would put on her mom's long nightgowns with these big heels, high heels, and I'd climb up in the boat. I've always loved foo-foo stuff. But anyway, we would just pretend. Well, the word pretend actually means to make believe. Now think about those two words, make believe. The make-believe or the pretending happens in one place, your imagination. And see, that's a powerful tool that God has given you to live your dreams. So whether your dream is to get married, lose weight, start your own business, get a major promotion, pay off your debts, see your family members get born again and serving God, the first step to success is to use your imagination before you take action, before you make a vision board or try to go after your dreams. In fact, Einstein said, your imagination is everything. He said it's simply a preview of life's coming attractions. Well, do you know what the biggest selling movie of all time is? Star Wars. Then it's E.T. and Jurassic Park and Avatar. Why? Because it takes your imagination places you used to go. See, we loved using our imagination when we were little, but as we grow up, we stop doing that until we go to a movie and just pretend for a couple hours. So let's pretend and use your imagination. You know, I wrote an entire book on the imagination called Imagine Big, but I want you to go back to using this gift that God has given you. You know, when you were a child, you would dream without limits. God's the one who said in Genesis, he said, nothing you have imagined you can do will be impossible for you. You know, I love this story of Dolly Parton, how she said she grew up one of 12 children in a very poor family in the foothills of Tennessee. She said her dad never learned to read or write. And she said she would put a tin can with a little stick in it, and she would jab it into the floor of their old cabin porch. And she said she would pretend this was her microphone. And then she said the chickens in the yard were her audience. She said she would look down at her old raggedy clothes and she would just imagine she had rhinestones on. She said in her imagination she was on stage with her guitar singing to thousands of people. Well, she used her imagination as a child and then she became what she saw. Well, many of us have dreams, as kids, but as we grow up, we're told, stop dreaming, be realistic, stop living in a fantasy, get a real job. I want you to realize that your imagination is a gift God has given you to set the course for where He wants you to go. You have to imagine yourself succeeding on the inside before it shows up on the outside. One of my favorite athletes to study is Michael Phelps. And I was reading a story recently about his coach, Bob Bowman, the coach of the Olympic swimmer. He talked about how Phelps is one of the greatest athletes ever to live. Now, he said, yes, he has incredible routines and rituals that cause him to rise above the competition. But this is what he said. He used his imagination and visualized his races daily. In fact, they said at the end of each practice, Bowman would tell Phelps to go home and watch the videotape. I love this massive one. Check this out. He would tell him, watch the videotape before you go to sleep and when you wake up. But here's the thing. The videotape wasn't real. It was a mental visualization of the perfect race he would imagine in his head. Each night before going to sleep, each morning after waking up, Phelps would just imagine himself jumping off the blocks and in slow motion swimming flawlessly. He would visualize his strokes. He would visualize the walls of the pool, his turns, the finish. He said he would lie in bed with his eyes shut and just watch the entire competition, the smallest details again and again until he knew each second by heart. Now, during practice, he said his coach would shout, "Put in the videotape," and Phelps would push himself as hard as he could. At competitions, all the coach had to do was whisper, "Get the videotape ready." Phelps said he would even imagine scenarios like his goggles, breaking, or he would even imagine ripping his suit. I don't want to go that far. But anyway, imagination. Colin Wilson said, imagination should be used not to escape reality, but to create it, just like Michael Phelps did. So let's pretend you can have anything you want. You're like a child. It's 1 year from today. What have you accomplished? Where have you gone? What have you paid off? How much money have you saved? Imagine logging into your bank account. What's the number that you see at the bottom line? What is that number? Who have you met or worked with? Where do you live? If you close your eyes, can you imagine driving up to the house of your dreams in the car of your dreams? What do you look like? What do you want to look like? When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Is it a healthier, fit version of you? I want you to start using your imagination. Remember, your ability to visualize yourself succeeding is vital to going where God wants you to go. This isn't just for kids. The most successful people in the world do this. And I'm telling you, you're going to look up 5 years from now and not even recognize your life. God is the one who said, nothing you have imagined you can do will be impossible for you. So let's pretend and use your imagination. Now, I want to recognize our YouTube subscriber of the week. This week is a girl named Crystalie de Almeida. I hope I said that right. This is what she writes. Because of your videos, I'm more organized. She said it took me 8+ hours to get decluttering my space. She said, because I had a more clutter-free environment, I started praying and started reviewing anatomy and physiology and applied to a very competitive nursing school that I could afford. It's amazing how clearing up your space clears up your mind. She said, I applied by faith because I didn't have a lot of healthcare experience and my GPA was only considered average. 2 months later, I got my acceptance letter. Oh my goodness, this is awesome. She said, recently I've been making an effort to have a consistent morning routine. I've lost 11 pounds and I have deepened my relationship with God. Thank you so much. I've never been this excited. May the Lord continue to bless you and your ministry. Crystalie, this is incredible. She is just making so much progress. We are cheering you on. Well, I want to give you the entire 7-step checklist for success that I've practiced in my life and learned from the most successful people in the world. So all you have to do is click the link in the description or go to terri.com/7steps to get your free 7-step checklist. Now, this free download that you can access today will become your go-to list to keep you on track to your dreams. And for more consistent motivation, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. You can find my handles below, or click the little red subscribe button for weekly videos to make this your best year yet. Thanks for watching, and remember, I'm cheering you on.